right, yo. Welcome back to another episode of Liberalish podcast. This is your host Keith. If you've been following along on YouTube, you probably have been noticing that we took like a bit of a hiatus. That's because of one notification. Sorry, I don't get paid to do this. I need a little break every once in a while. The news is a little bit depressing. So our bad. But if you've been following along on like Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to your podcast, there is an episode 24 out. So if you haven't checked that out, please go ahead and check it out. Joined today by my lovely co-hosts Ryan, Marcus, and Carly. So shout out to you guys. So we have a lot to talk about here. So what's on the agenda today? We're going to talk about the Derek Chauvin case, our thoughts and opinions on that. Corporations are suddenly becoming the good guys. They've been pulling their GOP support over voter suppression tactics. Then we're going to move on over to the Capitol Hill. So my congressional representative, Matt Gaetz, he's been attacked by the deep state. You know,
that's your Congress rep.
He's not my Congress rep now. My Congress rep is oh my God, Val Demings. She's my congressional rep.
Okay. Yeah.
Matt Gaetz, he's like northern Florida. I don't know if he's like Tallahassee or not. Or he might be at Jacksonville, I think. I don't know.
I'll look it up. I'll have it ready for us.
But anyways, he's being attacked by the deep state. So we're going to talk about that. What?
Oh, no, I was looking at, he's like the Florida Panhandle. The Western Florida Panhandle, so it kind of makes sense that he's kind of
where the madness originates.
Yep.
Yeah,
it fits. It's very on brand for him, being from that part of the state.
Yeah, he's a very nasty guy. He was actually, I think he was the governor's. He was on the governor's campaign team when he was running his first time around. So he's a very nasty dude. He made sure that like when the governor, then a candidate, Ron DeSantis, was campaigning, he made sure to like stop overnight at the colleges, you know, so he can do like his nasty deeds. So
what a sick man.
He's a sicko, man, but the deep state has got him. So we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Schumer, the Parliamentarian, our favorite senator, or we said it, Ryan's favorite senator, Joe Manchin. He's been talking a lot now lately. Then we're going to move on over to the White House, talk about what's been going on over there. Move on over to Kamala Harris's house. She finally moved into one. Congrats to her. And then, no, go ahead.
Did she move into the Naval Observatory, or did she buy a house?
No. So she moved into the Naval Observatory tower, not tower, but that building.
The house that the vice president lives in.
Right, correct. So she finally moved in. They were doing renovations, and they were taking a while, and so they had her stuck up in the Blair House. That's kind of like the official guest house of the White House. Okay. So she finally got it, you know. So shout out to Kamala.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna talk about Trump's scammer ways, and then if we have time, we're gonna run through questions for the podcast. So we're just gonna do like a couple of questions here. They're not really related. They're political and base. We're just gonna get you like the pod's opinion on each of these questions. All right. So kick things off here. So first off, thoughts and prayers to the people of St. Vincent. They're going through a volcanic eruption, causing some people to evacuate, some people to go into shelters. Ash is kind of spewing and it's impacting the other Caribbean islands such as Barbados. It's been covered in ash. So I don't know of any charities organizations to donate to. As soon as I get some word, I'll definitely add them to the Liberalish Twitter account, but just keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Next up, a big R.I.P. to DMX, the legend, the king from Yonkers, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Riders.
Yeah. So shout out to him, man. He lived a long, fulfilled life. So shout out to him, bro. And then I know like you guys didn't want it, but R.I.P. to Prince Phillip, husband to the Queen Elizabeth. I don't know if Meghan Markle done anything to cause this. We don't know yet, but
that poor pregnant woman just pushed him into his grave. Not him being 99 had nothing to do with it. It was
her all along.
It was the interview, the Oprah interview, just got him like stuck.
Yeah.
He
probably was the one that he probably was the one that made the comment that I wonder how dark the baby was.
Yeah. Probably.
I can see that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
German, Austrian. Wasn't his sisters like Nazis?
So I don't know if. So now, okay. So does this impact Prince Charles in any way, or does he have to wait till the Queen dies?
He has to wait till the Queen dies.
He has to wait till the Queen dies.
Prince Philip wasn't a king.
Right.
Men aren't able to be king. Queen can only be queen consort. Like men aren't allowed to be king if they're not from the direct bloodline.
Exactly. They're not allowed to be king if they're not in the succession. They can only okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very sexist system towards us men, so we do not support it.
Yeah.
So let's kick things off here, right? So over in Minneapolis, Derek Chauvin's on trial. I personally don't know how long this trial is going to last.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you started it by saying that he's on trial and not the George Floyd trial, because a lot of people are getting it confused and confusing it and saying the George Floyd trial. So I'm glad you said that and not the other way around.
I've been correcting myself. I've been saying that too, but I've been correcting myself though.
I saw something on the internet that somebody had said, and I thought it was very interesting that, like America makes said the opioid crisis was a health crisis when it affected white people. But now that they're trying to use the opioid that George Floyd has as justification for his murder. So whenever it's a war on drugs
you just
all
said
over
it.
again.
Yeah, you just said it. When it's a white person, it's a health scare. We have to get this under control. People are dying, but when it's Black people, it's like, look at them. They are just, they use drugs. It's like, so it's definitely a double standard. But it's always been that way, because it's like, when people were dying from opioids before, because opioid addiction is not like a new thing. People have been addicted to opioids for a while, but when it started to spill into the suburbs and it started to impact, young white people, then it was, we got to get this under control. This is a problem. So I'm not surprised by that. But then again, the narrative tends to shift when it's a Black person. And in most situations, like, it's always acceptable for them, but when it comes to us, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, look, you brought up a really good point here. The defense has been kind of harping on that George Floyd did have like drugs in his system, and that the crowd, which is a pretty diverse crowd, it has some white people, some Black people, some Hispanic people. It's a diverse crowd that surrounded the incident. The defense is really saying that crowd was just so angry and aggressive that Derek Chauvin couldn't apply help or necessary aid to George Floyd while he was going through his health crisis. So the good thing about this trial, though, is that the prosecution has actually done an amazing job debunking all of that. And personally, it's been kind of like a racial tinge to it too. In my opinion.
It's so apparent also. Like, I think in this situation, it's almost hard to classify it as anything else. I know, like, in the past, we've seen situations where we're like, it's right there in front of you. You see it. But I feel like for this situation, it's a little different, because I feel like a lot of people have been testifying that this was grotesque. It was unnecessary. It was over the top. It really could have been avoided. And so I think for me, that's something that I've noticed in this trial, is that the people who you would think would be great witnesses for the defense are actually kind of proving the point that this whole situation just went not a little bit. It just went somewhere it didn't need to go. It was completely unavoidable and unnecessary.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really stands out is that cops are actually testifying against Derek Chauvin, which is something that you almost never see.
Yeah.
One of the issues that a lot of prosecutors have in these kinds of trials against policemen is that policemen are often protect their own. So when you have the chief of police coming out and fellow cops coming out and saying this is wrong, people that work for the cops say that this is wrong, that's something should have been done. Like that's that right there is just shows how different this trial is, I think. And it's really just kind of it's really putting a lot of pressure on the defense to get something right that they probably couldn't get right from the jump. And I think now that's why it's I mean, if you ask, I think a lot of people today, they'd say that it's kind of leaning towards Chauvin's definitely going to get convicted of something based on how the trial is going. Now, could things change this week? I don't know how long this trial is going, but it looks like, it's all going downhill for Chauvin really fast.
Yeah. Like Marcus, that's actually a good point you brought up, because like I thought like seeing the police chief go out and testify against like Chauvin was pretty significant. I know like a lot of people thought like that was kind of like the most significant part. For me, it was actually like Lieutenant John Mercil who went out and testified. He was like he is currently the longest serving police officer in the Minneapolis Police Department. And he's also like a trainer for use of force. So when he came on stand and he said like, yeah, that guy acted way out of line and used way too much force, I thought that was extremely significant.
Because it was. And I think that's the obvious piece about it was, and for me, I was listening to the testimony of the even the medical examiner who basically confirmed his cause of death was the fact that his knee was like compressed against his neck. If you look at the actual, I guess, death certificate or his whatever, in the contributing factors, there was a notation that like there was drug use, but he stands by his cause of death. And I think everyone's trying to throw in unnecessary factors that really have nothing to do with it. But ultimately, you can't avoid the fact and you can't escape the fact that he died because like his knee was pressed against his neck. The other stuff is irrelevant. And I think they're holding on to that, hoping that it'll stick. Because they don't have anything else. Like everybody has literally came out and basically said, yeah, I don't really understand why this happened.
Right. And that's a good point. And also the medical profession that you mentioned, pretty much said that the knee and the neck is what did it. Another key witness was the ER doctor who saw George Floyd when he went to the emergency room. Drugs and an overdose was not the thing that he thought killed him. That didn't even cross his mind. It was definitely like this man was suffocated to death, and that's what the ER doctor stated. Before we kind of move on, though, I do also wanted to mention that like what was also kind of significant in this case was that there was a 911 operator who was kind of watching like I guess like the official police cameras in that area. What she saw, she thought was excessive, and she called for a police sergeant to show up. And I believe there was a firefighter on the scene who asked to provide medical attention to George Floyd, and she was denied. I want to say that she also called for a police backup, or maybe another witness also called for police backup, which is also pretty significant as well. So I don't know what's going to happen in this case. It is looking like Derek Chauvin is definitely going to go to jail. I don't know like if he's going to get like, serious time or not, or like which degree of murder he's possibly going to get. I think all 12 on the jury has to agree on one thing. So again, I don't know. But me personally, even if he goes to jail for like a long time, I don't really see this as like a defining moment in like our fight against like police reform. I kind of see this as like
a first step.
A first step. Kind of like the Cleveland Browns getting like their second win after 13 losses type of thing. I don't know. Because like, I mean,
this is a layup for them. This case should be a layup. When everyone saw the video of this man dying, it should have been an easy one. So I think just getting the basics right, it is kind of like, all right, now is this going to kind of allow you to look at these more complicated cases with a little more, scrutinize them a little more and come to like the same conclusion that something was wrong here, or are we just going to continue on as we have before? And that's what I think. You kind of hope this is kind of like a baby step to that next step. But yeah, this should be cut and dry, baby, cut and dry. Like he's guilty. That's what it should be.
This is what it should be. But like I think that we've gone through like so much that we've seen like kind of cut and dry cases, but then the cops kind of got off. There's actually a new case that's just recently been hitting in the news are just been going viral online at least, where an active duty Army soldier, he went out.
I saw that. Oh my gosh, that was so hard
It
to
is.
watch.
But can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
Let this be a cautionary tale that, I think sometimes we tell ourselves that because we're in a certain position that we are supposed to be above what everybody else goes through. And I think we're shocked because it's like, oh, he's a uniformed officer in the military and that should mean something. But it doesn't, and I say this to say, sometimes we put ourselves in spaces thinking like, okay, I'm doing something, like I'm serving my country. That should get me respect. That should give me like common decency. Like you should treat me better but it's like, that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Not to say what he's doing as an officer doesn't matter and that, whatever. But in the eyes of like people who behave that way or who people who treat Black and brown people that way, it means nothing.
I remember watching the video and he said,
well, hold on. We got to describe the video though. We got to describe the video before
he pulled over to a gas
station. Because he said that
it was well lit. He wanted to be, sure he felt more comfortable.
The guy himself is safe too.
Yeah. So he's in the car and they're like, guns drawn, like get out the car. And he's like, I don't feel safe. I don't want to get out the car. I don't feel safe. And he's like, you shouldn't. I mean, or what did he say? He was
he said, I'm afraid. And he said,
you should be. And I guess they're like, please, like telling him to get out the car. He's like, I didn't do anything. And then one officer, like he's going back and forth. They're going back and forth. And he like pepper sprays him through the car.
Mm-hmm.
This is nuts.
And I don't know if that was it, but then I also saw another video when he was actually out of the car and there was another officer talking to him and he's like, you're scared for your life as well as they are. And for me, I think that kind of was, I didn't like that because I feel like it was, you're trying to compare like his fear with their fear and it's not the same. Like, and I think we've seen over time why it's not the same. Like an officer fearing for his life is not the same as a Black man fearing for his life.
Well, what's the saying? If you're scared, go to church. So like you signed the dotted line to become a police officer. You went to the academy. If you're too scared to do the job, quit.
You shouldn't be a cop, right?
Sorry. That's what you sign up for. And guess what? That guy that they arrested or harassed illegally, by the way.
Yeah.
He signed up to risk his life so that you asshole cops can do that to him, basically. He's going overseas to fight for this country.
And I think it's so ironic how people always say, like, we should respect this country because there's people fighting for this country. And, people are putting their lives on the line to, protect us. And so we should respect, like, military people or just respect this country in general, the flag. But it's like, it's kind of, again, going back to the whole situation where it's a double standard. It's like that only applies to white military personnel. Because when you're a Black military personnel, this is like, this type of shit shouldn't happen. And I can't help but to wonder, like, if he was white in his uniform, would this whole situation have played out the way that it did?
No, and like, I was asked this question before. If he was white, so let's just back a couple things up here. So this soldier, he's a second lieutenant. So he just got out of college to become a second lieutenant.
Yeah.
And so he just bought like his brand new car, which was a Tahoe. So he got it tinted out and he had the temporary tags because he just bought it.
Right.
The cops pulled over claiming he didn't have tags. But when you see the body cam footage, they have tags on the vehicle, clear as night and day, right? If that guy that rolled down the window was white, they would have saluted him. Thank you for his service. Off you go. Because the thing is like, I've seen it before, my dad's in the military, and what usually happens is like, you are supposed to respect the military.
Of course.
It's just common sense. You're supposed to respect the military, right?
That's like, my point, yeah.
Salute, hey, watch your speed.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. And on top of that, right, that normally happens when you're not in uniform and you show like off your military ID. When you're in uniform,
it's so different.
And you're acting that way, That like I was in tears, man. I was just in shock to see that level of hate just geared to like a guy like that. It seemed like it was like back in the 1940s.
That's why I say we're in different times, because there was once a time where you had to almost disguise your hatred and your racism.
You can just show it right up now, right?
No,
up.
it's encouraged. It's like there's no reason to. Why should I have to? And I think that's the part about today, and like the like what we're living in right now. That's the scary part, is that at any given moment, no matter what you're doing, it's like I didn't do anything. So I don't really understand where this is coming from.
I want y'all to really like think about, like, I know it's hard to justify serving a country that hates you, but that guy really like went to college, he got a degree and decided like, yo, I want to serve my country. You know, even though my country don't really like me, I'm still gonna serve my country. He has a college degree, could have went to another job, anything.
Right.
He went,
that's another
got
thing
enlisted, and then he come home to a country that hates you so much that you got to understand, when he said he pulled over in the gas station, not only for his safety, but because he wanted to make sure the officers were safe when that they don't suspect anything, and just to make sure that they're good too.
And you are allowed to do that. It's encouraged to keep going, slow down, put your blinkers on, and just look for like a well-lit location. That is what they tell you, and that's exactly what he did. They said they've
always done that. They said that's a common thing that practice. You do. That's a common practice that you're taught to do, and to do that. And then imagine this guy, this officer, right, had PTSD, guns drawn.
That's true.
Flashback from war.
You don't know. You don't
so bad.
You don't know. Yeah, I think like a lot of people don't really understand that, and it's sad because like when you have to I guess for us it's like you have to consider these things, but it's not even about that. It's about the simple fact that this is somebody who didn't do anything. Like this was a and like listen.
Right. He didn't do anything.
I've been stopped for things that I consider to be bullshit. Oh, improper, use of a signal or whatever. Like I had one time I had a little tree in my mirror and I got a ticket for obstruction of view. These are like bullshit things that like we have to go through, and we always have to justify it or, kind of but it's like, it like, fuck all the circumstances. This is somebody that was driving home. It doesn't matter who he is, what he does for a living, if he has kids, if he's married, if he's young, if he's old. Those things should not matter. It's about treating humans like humans. Like I understand you're an officer, you have a job to do, but it's murderers and rapists and like real life crime going out, and you're stopping me because you say I don't have a tag, but I do have a tag. Like you don't have anything better. Like, so I say for us, it's different. Because to us, it's like we always have to consider like, okay, like I have to be calm. I can't raise my voice. I can't move too quick. I have to always show my hands. I have to announce what I'm doing. And it's unfortunate because I feel like on the other side of that, they don't have to, like, I've been in the car with white people who have engaged with the cops, like started arguing with the cops. And I'm like, what is going on right now? Because we're not privileged enough to do shit like that.
And you know what? You know what's the wild part about this? This happened in December 2020, and those officers did not face any disciplinary action. They're still working for the department, and like nothing happening. Like it's, and they would tell you, they would say, "Oh, why didn't he just get out the car?" Because he had to take off his seatbelt.
And
if he moved for his seatbelt,
well,
he's gonna get shot.
He didn't need to. They didn't go up to him. They didn't ask for license, registration, proof of insurance.
They just simply,
They came at him. They had the guns drawn.
Like get out the car.
So
it's in your legal right to like, you have to, like, you can't just tell somebody like get out the car. Like you have to tell them what they're being pulled over for. You have to, it's like steps. Like you can't just come up to me with like your guns drawn. That's illegal. Like you have to announce yourself. You have to tell me what you're pulling me over for, ask for my license and registration. So he had every right to be scared. I think anybody who has guns drawn at them would be scared. That's a logical and reasonable reaction to that type of situation.
No. When you're in uniform, right? Like think about it.
Yeah.
When you're in uniform, regardless of what race you are, there's a lot of people that come up to you, shake your hand, thank you for your service. They'll give you like special treatment here and there. When you're in uniform and you did nothing wrong and they have guns drawn on you, and like they pulled you over because you're black, and they see the uniform and they're still treating you that way. But that's like an extra level of fear, I feel like that. Like,
and you gotta understand, they gotta understand, like they said they did all of that because obstruction of justice. Cops can say stupid shit like obstruction of justice with no justification.
They
can just get up one day and be like, yo, the former police chief came out and said what justice was being obstructed. In you let him go. So what the fuck?
So about that, right? Let's rewind here a little bit. So if you look at the image, so it's on CNN right now. There's an overweight, racist white cop that's like a fucking walrus, right?
Yeah.
He has his gun pointed at him, and this guy, the soldier, is a second lieutenant. He's an officer. So if you're not familiar with the military, there's officers, which is like lieutenants that goes up to generals. Then you have your enlisted privates that go up to like sergeant majors, right? This asshole cop goes up to him and goes, "What are you, a private or a specialist?" Which is the two lowest ranks that you can get in the military. So he's already coming at him disrespectfully. And get this, that cop claims he was ex-military, which is why he's like, I let him go. I knew that he's going to get double jeopardy, so I let him go. No, you let him go because he had no legal justifications to do it. So I don't know what's going to happen. This is one case where like, I really hope those cops go to jail. I really hope they do, bro. I really hope they go to jail.
There has to be like some violation of this man.
I feel like it has to be like it really has to be a situation where it's like enough is enough. You know, I think sometimes shit just is super unnecessary. And it's no way to paint it other than like just racist. Like there's no, like in my mind, there's no other explanation for this type of situation because it really wasn't required. Like he didn't do anything wrong. And I know we've said this in the past, like he wasn't doing anything. But it's becoming so blatant. Like you're not even disguising it like I did. Like, yeah, like you're not even disguising it like I did something. You're just like flat out just off rip treating me.
The cops, get this. The cops arrested him, searched his vehicle illegally, found nothing, of course.
Of course.
And then they turned around and was like, yeah, if you want to fight this, we're going to screw you over. They should be in jail. Yeah. Open and shut case. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen. I really want to see if there's going to be any Republicans that come out. Threaten his military career. This is like I really want to hear like a Ted Cruz type of person or a.
I want to hear the defense of this.
I really want to hear a defense.
You know what the defense
I really want to hear a
be?
defense.
And you know what this good defense is going to be, and what the defense is every single time. Why didn't he just get out the car? Why didn't he just cooperate?
He's gonna get shot.
But they gave him conflicting orders.
But see, my thing with this is, anytime situations like this happen, people's automatic thing is like, if you just comply with what they're saying, it'll be all over. Like, just listen to them. You're making it worse and get like going back and forth. And it's like, why does my civil rights have to be violated?
Right.
You know, for you, like, because you're overstepping your boundaries, like what you're supposed to be doing. Like, it's okay for you to violate my civil rights and I'm supposed to just comply. Like, no, I didn't do anything. And I know I didn't do anything. So I don't have to get out the car.
Right. Carly, you said it better. And like, we got to get off this topic. We've been on here for a while, but thank you so much for letting me vent. Because again, like I grew up on military bases. So just seeing like an image like that was like very, very triggering for me. So thank you for letting me vent on the pod. All right, so moving on to the next topic here. All right, so corporations are pulling GOP support over voter suppression tactics. So far we got like Coca-Cola, Delta, they've issued statements, and just recently, I think a group of like 100 CEOs hopped on a Zoom call to discuss, and they signed a letter supporting voting rights, basically. On top of this, Mitch McConnell, who's been the biggest recipient of corporate money, he's just telling corporations to stay out of politics. which is kind of funny because corporations are technically people, so they have every right to
Not
be in
only
politics.
not only that, Mitch McConnell's the person who's fought for corporations, being able to play in politics. He's the one who's kind of pushed. He's the one who kind of controls the coffers for the Republican Party, like all the money that flows into the party. He's pretty much touching and deciding like where that's going to go. So for him to kind of be and say, "Hey, shut up and just give me money. Don't voice your opinions on anything." It's just too rich. It's so it's so hypocritical, but it's so kind of typical for someone like McConnell, who's just like, listen to just kind of ignore ignore what I'm saying and just keep on giving me what I want here. It's just ridiculous for him to kind of continue on like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's why a few pods ago I said I didn't like Mitch McConnell. Like it's a few people in like the Senate that I don't like. Some people I can't explain. I just don't like them. But like I feel like it's like for him, he's one of those people, but he always does something. And then I'm like, now I know why I don't like you. Because it's like, I feel like it's funny how whenever someone is like doing something that people agree with, it's like, yeah, keep it up, keep doing that. But then it's like when they gain a conscience and be like, you know what, let me speak out on something that's wrong. It's like, no, shut up and mind your business. Right. But if I shut up and minded my business, you wouldn't get what you wanted. So you don't really want that to happen. You just want me to be selective about the things that you like and the things that you don't like. And I feel like that's a double standard, another double standard.
No, as long as they're useful to McConnell, then they're fine. Yeah. But as soon as they stand up to him, then he takes issue with it.
Then it's like, yeah, you need to be quiet.
Exactly that. So let me ask you guys this, right? So how do we feel about corporations kind of taking a stand for voting rights? Do we think like they are actually being like legit in their fight or in their stance? Or do we think this is just kind of like a show of face to...
Honestly, I think and it's sad, I think a lot of things right now I think we're living in a time where people are being very strategic about what they choose to speak up against and like speak up about it. And some of it can be like, we know that these are topics that people are concerned about. So it's like we have to kind of align ourselves, or at least look like we align ourselves with them so that people think we care. But I think if the ultimate goal is for like voting rights to be like pushed, and so that more people can like be confident in voting and make sure that their vote is counted, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, but it serves a greater good, then I feel like that's okay with me. Because at least we're calling attention to something that's clearly wrong. Some shit be pandering. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some people be doing stuff, like some people do stuff, and I'm not negating that. I'm not saying that people don't do things, but whatever. But my thing is like, yeah, it's fucked up that a lot of like we're in 2021 and we're still talking about like voter suppression.
Which is nuts, actually.
Yeah, it's very nuts. So it's like if you're aligning yourself with making sure that more people have the right to vote because you want to increase your sales or whatever the case may be, but also working so that people can vote. I mean, I would rather that. At least it serves a bigger purpose than you just blatantly not doing anything or speaking out against it, because that's just doing nothing. It serves no purpose for me.
I do like that you kind of went with the, the ends justify the means thing here. I'm going to go with another kind of Machiavellian thought and say that it's better to appear good than to actually be good. And I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of these corporations. They rather just look good and kind of be associated with these positive movements or these positive things like, standing up to voter suppression than actually doing anything meaningful if they don't have to. I feel like, I'm sure there are some corporations. I think Patagonia is one that kind of came out recently and said that they wanted to kind of take a bigger stand on like environmental issues or something like that. And you'll see a lot of that from other corporations. But in terms of actually doing something meaningful here, you can just look at in the aftermath of the insurrection on January 6th, how many companies came out and said, "Oh, you're not going to give money to super PACs or political entities that are associated with this." And then just found out this week that there are companies like JetBlue going out and giving money to other candidates who were involved in the insurrection or supported, nullifying the results there. And I think that I just bring that up just to say, like, they're gonna say anything at the moment so that it looks good,
right?
And if that's and again, it's cool if that works. If that's actually going to kind of light a fire under the Republicans in all these different states, kind of pushing these measures to kind of say, hey, maybe we should walk this back, or maybe rethink this. Which, obviously we're not seeing, because the Republicans just kind of double down on these sort of things. But if there's any good action, if this does kind of allow for these bills to kind of at least pump the brakes on them, or at least keep them from coming into law and passing, then I think we're in a good place, and that's a good thing. But I do think it's fair to kind of question whether these corporations are actually moving, or actually want to see these things work, because they're so rich and they're so kind of like insulated from any sort of real changes that could happen, and it's honestly not gonna make that big of a difference. I mean, and I think it's interesting too. I think two of the CEOs that kind of pushed for this CEO call were Kenneth Chenault, who I think was the former CEO of American Express, and I think the former CEO of Merck, I think his name is Ken Frazier, and others. So these are two Black CEOs who kind of got together and said, hey guys, like, what can we do to kind of change this? And it's cool to see them kind of use their place or their stature to kind of make something happen. But it'll be interesting to see if something actually comes from it, something substantive that can actually keep these voter suppression laws that are very real and very scary. I think if you're coming at it from like a progressive point of view, from coming into action.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to look at is you don't have to look too far to see that all of this is most pandering. You can look at all of these companies and their diversity plans, they talk about how diverse they are, but if you work for them, you can actually see that they're so far from being diverse. Like, it's all of that. All of them have this idea, oh, we're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. It's all pandering. I don't believe none of it.
I feel like...
Was all pandering bad then? Pandering in all forms? Do we not hate pandering? Because
pandering without actual action behind it.
I do think there's action behind. I do think there's some action with it, but I think anytime pandering comes up, people are just like, "Oh, it's pandering," so that it kind of nullifies any effort. And I'm like,
listen, when I said,
is that fair?
That's fair to me, bro.
When we talked about pandering,
so what would be the opposite then of that? If they're not, if it's not, so they're actually like their outreach. If it looks like pandering to us, like what should they be doing then?
I think pandering starts when somebody says, oh, are we going to do this? We're going to do that. And then behind the scenes, you're not doing any of that. You're just appearing to be like with something. Just like when the George Floyd thing happened, a lot of these companies talking about, oh, we're taking a look at our diversity hires or programs like that.
But
and none of that happened. Just like the other time you talk about, oh, JetBlue said they're not supporting anybody that these companies came out and said, I'm not supporting any candidate who did this or that. And guess what? Guess what they did? They went back and started supporting. Just look at Tucker Carlson programs. Look at all these Fox programs.
Tucker Carlson.
Look at all these companies. Look at all of these companies that say, oh, I'm going to boycott them. That I'm not going to sponsor this program. And then a couple months later, those programs are back. Those companies are back supporting those same ideas. So pandering is basically saying things with no actions to follow up, or just going back on your word in a few months. Just to be like.
Is it going back on this is the last question though? Is it going back on the words that something they got whatever change that they were seeking, and they just kind of said, okay, we're going to go back to operating the way that we were. Because if you give the changes you were seeking, if it's something like pulling ads from Fox and then they stop saying crazy shit for a little bit that offends like the people that you're trying to appeal to, and then that change happens, and then you say, okay, fine, we're going to bring it back. We're going to start supporting you. Is that pandering, or is that just we got what we wanted and we moved on?
Because for the Fox News example, they're enabling a racist. We know Tucker Carlson is a racist. We know his behavior. We know like every couple of months he says some wild shit. So why are we supporting him? Why are you going back every time? Why do you have this back and forth relationship?
I don't think all pandering is necessary. I think pandering without any action. I think when you like, it's kind of like when all this shit was happening with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and a lot of these brands were posting fucking like post on Instagram, but didn't do anything about it. That's fucking pandering, because you're not doing anything. You're just trying to align yourself with a good cause to make it seem like you're good people or you're a good company or you actually care. That does nothing for anybody. But if you put forth the action to actually support what you're saying and it does good, like I think the problem with people nowadays is you want everyone to be good people. That's unrealistic. Like realistically speaking, we cannot expect everybody to be good. Like we can't expect everybody to align themselves with our cause, because honestly, not everybody is affected by the same shit that we're affected by. They're not going to have the same passion that we have, because it doesn't impact them the way that it impacts us. So if the least you can do is put your money where your mouth is, or do some shit that's actually going to push forth the cause, listen, I can get with it because you're doing more than the rest of these people who do nothing and just say what they're gonna do but don't actually do anything. That shit I can't stand. Like, I can't stand a blank Instagram, a blank black screen Instagram post with some fucking words talking about some, we're so saddened by what is happening. Yeah, I'm saddened too. Like, I'm fucking saddened too. But what are you gonna do about it? You're not doing anything about it. So I think pandering in an essence is bad because it's like, it's suspicious. Like, I don't know how you really feel about it, but the reality of the situation is voter suppression today is it shouldn't even be a thing. Like, we shouldn't even still be talking about fighting for civil rights and voting rights. That shit, we did that in the 60s. Like, that was like, that should have been it. Like, you know, we should have, like, the bill got signed. We should have been good to go. The fact that we're still marching and protesting and doing all this stuff today
it's really
is nuts. But, you know, like, I feel like people are really starting to see like shit is getting worse and not better, and are starting to say, like, you know what? It's not enough for me to just say I feel you. I gotta do something so that you can really see, like, I'm with you. And if you're doing it for your own selfish gain, but you're taking from yourself to give to us, I'm cool with it.
So, all right, let me ask you guys this question. Let's all keep this exact same energy. So this is off topic. We're off to corporate America. This was a great conversation, but conservatives, or at least like Republicans, whatever you want to call them, right wingers, whatever you want to call them, they have been attacking the founder of Black Lives Matter because the founder of Black Lives. Okay. Okay. All right.
Rightfully so.
All right.
Rightfully so.
Okay. Never mind.
And what's crazy to me is people are really telling Tamir Rice's mom to mind her fucking business. Like, what are you, like, come on now. Like, okay, Black Lives Matter, the movement is some bullshit. But Black Lives Matter, like, in the essence, like, oh, Black Lives Matter, we're fighting for equality, I fuck with. It's very odd to me that Black Lives Matter has raised millions of dollars, but yet I don't know where this money is going. Like, where did it go? That's what I got an issue with. So
transparency.
We're now talking about, I believe I just read, like, yesterday or the day before, that the co-founder of Black Lives Matter just bought a $1.4 million home.
So that's the person that they have been attacking, at least online, that she bought like a $1.4 million home in a white neighborhood.
Because Tamir Rice's mother came out and said, like, Sean King and Tamika Mallory have been profiting off of
her son's death, which is accurate because they have.
First of all, I really don't want to get into him, but I don't even understand why we keep even talking about Sean King. Like, he's a fucking white man. Like, he's a white man. Like, and then not to mention, like, lied about it and tried to say that he was biracial, but he's not. But whatever. I feel like that's valid. Like, you know, this is a mom who lost her son.
Right.
That's personal. Like, that's personal. That's deep. It's bigger than movements. I don't have my son. Like, my son is gone. So I think for her, she's speaking from a place of hurt. I think she's speaking from a place of, you know, this has become something bigger than what I want it to be. I don't need it to be about profitability. I don't need it about making you into a celebrity. I guess what started off as like a fight for for justice for my son has turned into something else.
That I don't want to be a part of.
And I think that's valid. Like, you know, a lot of times for us, we watch these things on the news, and I was thinking about this the other day. We watch stuff on the news. We hear about Breonna Taylor. We hear about George Floyd. We heard about Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, all of them. And to us, it's like horrific because it's like, damn, another person. But I don't think a lot of times we stop and think about the people that they leave behind.
Yeah.
Their moms, their sisters, their kids, their wives, girlfriends, like people who saw them every day, who experienced them personally, who knew them. Because to us, it's just another name. But this is like, these are people's family. These are people's friends. And I feel like it's okay. I think it's just her speaking like, okay, this has been going on for years. And it's not even about my son anymore. Honestly, and I feel her on that because I feel like it isn't. Like, I think it's become something else. I think for a majority of us, we still see it like, oh, this is just a fight for justice. We're fighting for equality. We're fighting for a seat at the table, whatever the case may be. But I don't think his mom cares about that type of stuff. No offense. I don't think she doesn't care about the cause. I think she's just simply saying, like, it's about my son. And I don't think you're seeing it as about my son anymore. Because Tamika Mallory just did a Cadillac campaign. What the fuck does Cadillac have to do with Black Lives Matter?
I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. Like, I've been thinking about the people that we call leaders in our community, or who gets the leaders. So I posted a video the other day. I don't know if probably Carly is the only one following me on Instagram here, but like, if you follow, I posted a video of Malcolm X basically saying, calling out, yo, if you look at the leaders that other people have, like we have Diddy, we have people who are actors, athletes, and all of those people.
Yeah.
And those are not real leaders, you know, like those are not people that are about it. If you really think about, and then if you actually think about the other sector of it, look back deep into Malcolm X, Rosa Parks. Those are people, Martin Luther King. Those are people who lived on bare minimum. Like, somebody was paying Rosa Parks rent. I forgot, one of these franchise people was paying her rent, like, to help her get by, because this is what you do. Like, you're not hitting it for money. You know, like it's
strictly about the passion.
Yeah, there is no fight. Yeah, it's like we're missing it. Like, MLK was so far from being rich.
He wasn't doing brand deals. Bro, he wasn't doing endorsements. He was fighting for the people. And I think that's the point. Like, I think we've turned our passions into something to profit off of. And I think when you're talking about art and, you know, creative directing and modeling and singing and acting, those are valid things. Like, these are passions that you could turn into profitability. But when you're talking about human lives, it's different. When you're talking about people dying simply because they're Black, it's different. It's like, I think anytime you have somebody that's saying, like, I want to fight for you, that's what you want them to do. You want them to fight for you. So I do think you tend to side-eye people who are like, okay, yeah, like, you fighting for me, but what you doing over there too? Like you know, like, it becomes a little bit kind of contradicting, because it becomes a situation where, like, what is your ultimate goal? Like, what are you really hoping to get from this? Are you doing this for the cause? Are you doing this for self-gain?
Like, my favorite person, like, civil rights activist right now, is Ta-Nehisi Coates. You don't hear nothing about Ta-Nehisi Coates. Mm-hmm. He writes his articles, he writes his book, he does analyzation of things. Like,
shout out to Howard.
Bro, he's not, bro, that's pure, like, that's like pure, genuine love. And, like, yo, like, if you listen to Ta-Nehisi, they probably hate Ta-Nehisi Coates, because if you read his first book, he calls out the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. He called out the hypocrisy, they call it Republican Party. He do like an in-depth analyzation of everything, like the letter to his son, like, it's just so pure. Like, and I don't feel like none of this is pure. Like, to think that Tamir Rice's mom, or any of those mothers of the movement, is actually living in poverty, while people like Sean King keeps profiting off it, and they tell you that you're profiting off their thing, and you keep doing it.
And like, you tell them, but then they turn around and say, I'm doing it to have a larger voice. But it doesn't appear that way. Like, they say, like, I'm doing this because I'm trying to elevate the cause, and I'm trying to have a louder voice and be in certain spaces where I can really impact change. But I feel like I just, me personally, I understand that people got to live their lives, and it's like, you know, money makes the world go round. Like, ultimately, you got bills. I get that.
It sounds to me like nobody wants to give any, like, we don't want to play the wait and see game like we did with Jay-Z in the NFL.
Yeah, like, I
think all these people are trying to use these platforms with, like, corporate partners and trying to bring them in. And I mean, the dividends we haven't really seen the dividends. We haven't, whether it's more diversity, whether it's more investment in the community, we haven't seen it yet. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting from this conversation, is that we just don't care.
There's
We
some
haven't seen the results yet.
Bro,
Like-
there's some people in our community that are so fucked up. Like if you go back to the whole Diddy post over the weekend talking about, oh,
That was hilarious.
we need more representation, we need to pay our people more.
He should
And
have
you
sat
go-
there and just ate,
and
like
you-
you just
and you have to
minded.
re-
He should have
and you-
said nothing.
Bro, and
That should have been your journal, bro.
Bro, he posted Kwame Ture. Bro, you steal from black people, bro. You run people in poverty. None of your artists ever get representation. You are what
Like,
is
I'm
wrong with
sorry.
our community.
I'm sorry, but like you're like, I just be feeling like I really be sympathizing with people's PR teams for real. Like it's like I always gotta work fucking overtime because you're doing stupid shit. Like Diddy should have never said nothing. Like you're the last person. And I think another thing that we have to stop doing in the black community is looking to celebrities to be our leaders.
I was listening to Joe Budden, the same thing. I was listening to Joe Budden. Sorry, I forgot you.
No, you're fine.
I was listening to Joe Budden podcast, and Joe Budden called this man Diddy one of our leaders. I'm like, who the fuck is Diddy leading?
Because they like for me, I see it this way. I think sometimes when we talk about celebrities in our community, we think like, oh yeah, you're black, I'm black, we're fighting the same fight.
Nah, bro.
But I don't think they see it that way. And I think that's where we get it twisted. Like, they're not us. You know, like they're not the people that we're talking about. Like I think with Diddy, for real, it's like we've heard the stories numerous times about Diddy not paying his artists, Diddy taking people's publishing, Diddy signing people to bullshit deals and they get nothing out of it. So I think it's pretty ironic and laughable that Diddy of all people felt like, and then for me, it was the outpouring of people who were like, you're the same person that stole from me. Like you walked into that shit.
He's the wrong
There's a
messenger.
tweet. There's a tweet. Sorry to cut you off. So Jessica Fire, whatever her name is, right?
Yeah.
After Diddy posted that, she said,
Jessie Will. Yeah.
Diddy, it starts with us. I was recently approached to host a show for Revolt, which Diddy owns. And it came without
no pay.
You're saying that black people doesn't get paid while you're the one not paying your own people, and you're a billionaire, bro.
It's like that Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other. That's exactly what it is. Like you're talking to yourself. Like you're the person that you're talking to. The only difference is you're not quote unquote, I guess, corporate America, but you have the power to pay people more and you choose not to for your own selfish gain. So I think it's a larger conversation about people being hypocrites and being outraged by shit that they see white people do, but you turn around and do it to your own fucking people, which is, in my opinion, worse. Because I'd rather deal with a wolf than a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like I want to know who I'm dealing with. Like when it comes down to like corporate America and racist white people, like I get it. I've been, you kind of get to a point where you're like, it is what it is. Like this is what it is. When it's a black person doing it to other black people, but then having the audacity to call out white people.
Some of these black leaders, whatever they want to be called, they're basically like the Africans that captured the slave to sell to the white man
into slavery.
And that's what we have to recognize. That's what we got to recognize, that some of these people aren't, they're there for themselves, and that's all.
I feel like if the leaders of Black Lives Matter really gave a fuck, I feel like you need to start publishing where this money is going. Like when all this shit was happening and people was donating, like people were setting up bail bonds for protesters and all this shit, like it was going towards that. I feel like if you're a corporation that takes donations, you should be able to publish exactly where these donations are going. If not, that's a problem for me. Because how are you taking money for a cause, but can't tell me how you're dividing up this money to serve the cause? It's very suspicious.
Shouldn't trust a nigga that who dates his son's ex anyway.
Oh yeah.
Well, there goes our chances of being signed by Revolt.
Oh well.
It was gonna get paid anyway.
They wasn't gonna pay us, so it don't matter. We don't want to be on Revolt, so right.
First off, guys, you guys are potted. Like that was a really good discussion. I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. I just want to run through the White House and Kamala Harris's house.
She's still walking around.
She is taking better
all-way pictures.
She's taking better IG pictures now. She is doing a much better job now. So I don't know if she listens to the podcast or what.
We were making fun of Kamala, but I really hope Kamala actually has real duties. Like, I like we joke and say all she does is walk around all day, but I hope she's really walking somewhere to do something.
I know I'm like been really critical of Kamala because former cop, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I'm actually really rooting for Kamala Harris because
me too.
See,
I think people take criticism as hate, but I think when you're talking about someone who has a shaky past when it comes to people, like how they deal with people in their role, I think it's fair, especially coming off the last 4 years. I don't think we should get blindsided by, like take me for example. I don't want to get blindsided by the fact that someone's dangling another Black woman in front of me. Like, oh, here it's someone that looks like you. She's good. Like, I don't think we should get caught up on the idea that because someone seems to serve our interests that they will, because there's a lot of people who look like us that you would think like you're one of, like, we're one and the same, but they don't serve the same interest. So I don't feel like criticism should be taken like, oh, you're just hating. I think it should be seen validly. Like, these are people who have jobs that impact everyday people's lives, and you just want them to take it seriously and show up and do the work that they're supposed to do. So it's all good with me and Kamala. Like, I want
her to have more responsibility.
I was always rooting for her. I just wanted her to take it and do the right things with it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, right? I wanted to have like more responsibility. The responsibility that she has with the border crisis, that is not like, she can't solve that. Yeah. That's an issue that Congress has to fix. They gave her
something very, very, very not fixable by just one person.
Right.
Because it's an ongoing thing too. It's like something that's been going on for so long that it's bigger than one person.
It's bigger than one person, and it also doesn't help the fact that the predecessor, 45, completely fucked up the situation for Biden. Made it a lot worse, made it a huge humanitarian crisis for Biden and his administration to get into and handle and deal with. As
a person who works in immigration, I'm telling you, it's horrible out here. So
right, firsthand, our immigration laws are single-handedly terrible.
It's very horrible, and it's every day, every week there's something changes. Every week there's a court battle. It changes on a dime. Like for where I work, like like clients pay good money for that, but you have to wonder, like, just the poor people, that the regular folks are trying to come in the country, like how they survive. Like I hope they get by.
Right. So let's tackle Congress here, and then let's move on to like our fun like Q&A section, basically. So Matt Gaetz, right? So we were talking about Matt Gaetz earlier in the pod, representative representing the Panhandle, the greatest part of Florida. Forget Miami, forget Tampa,
Florida
forget
man
Orlando. Lives. The Panhandle is where true Florida is.
Where the Florida? That's where the Florida man lives.
It's a wild place, yeah.
Ryan, yes.
That is where
Florida.
Pure Florida out there. Yeah.
Pure Florida. Like all the Floridians were kicked out due to like these New Yorkers, New Jerseyans, whatever, coming in, taking their land, kicking them off their land.
Yeah.
They are stuck in the Panhandle right now. So shout out to Matt Gaetz. Oh, let me put up.
Oh,
so
no,
Matt Gaetz
shout out to Mike Gaetz.
let me not pull Tucker Carlson here.
Yeah.
let me pull that here.
All right, what's the charge against Matt Gaetz? Is it soliciting prostitutes?
So I'm actually going to pass the mic
campaign money.
So I think Marcus has been doing his research on this. I wanted to pass the mics over to Marcus.
I thought a resident Floridian would go and take charge.
Look, shots fired.
About the allegations, I mean, I can get into it now, but the allegations are that he likes them young. He was out here soliciting the company of I guess he took a young woman to dinner or took a young woman out, and it showed up on his receipts. And it was enough of a problem that the old Department of Justice, run by Trump's people or the deep state, depending on who you're checking for. But they thought it was serious enough to look into it. and there's still an investigation ongoing, even though the sticks have been passed along from William Barr and to whoever replaced him for Trump and to now Merrick Garland. But yeah, they're seriously looking into this, and it's nasty out there. Gaetz, went on Tucker, super nasty. Gaetz went on Tucker Carlson to try to exonerate himself and said, "Oh, it's an ongoing investigation. Somebody tried to take money from me." And then, as we kind of dug into it, other people have come forward and said, "No, Matt Gaetz is kind of a creep. He used to go around the I guess Congress or the floor of Congress and show pictures of him with women. He's been known to kind of party with women the way that someone like Donald Trump might back in the day." So yeah, the allegations are out there. There's an ongoing investigation. What happens to him will be seen. Of course, the calls for him to resign are coming from the left. To the right, it's kind of like, we don't care about women, really. It's all good.
Not even Liz Cheney is calling for his resignation, which I thought it was like quite interesting.
Liz Cheney said the allegations are sickening, but she's not going to weigh in on whether she should step down, because I guess the Republicans are really trying to practice some form of unity amid all these kind of reports that the party is splintering. It's not. They're okay with this sort of thing happening. It's the nastiest situation. But yeah, does Matt? I don't know what's going to happen now to Matt Gaetz. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of these investigations. If he's not going to resign, obviously, because he's from the Trump kind of mode of thinking, where it's like, yeah, this is fine.
Well, I'm also curious if he has like more protections as a member of Congress than he does as a private citizen, which is part of the reason why he won't resign.
I think Marcus, you did a good job, but you missed one important factor. He tried to implicate him. He tried to say, Tucker, he was there. He was there with me. You saw the woman. You was at dinner with me.
Tucker was like,
crazy to me. It's like I feel like it's a commonly it's. I just be feeling like, damn, like how do you get caught up so easily? Like you don't even. I feel like you should work hard. I feel like if you're in this type of position, like you should work harder to keep your indiscretions like low key. Like, why are you like? I just feel like if you know that you're doing like shit that you're not supposed to be doing, I don't know if like maybe they don't give a fuck because it's like I don't really. Even if I do get caught, I'm not gonna really face consequences for real. But that's still embarrassing. Like, no offense, even if you don't get any consequences, to have that attached to your name is very embarrassing. I just wouldn't want that. I will always try, but. Yeah, like that's nasty. That's really nasty for us.
It's really nasty, and I think someone put up a billboard in his district saying that Matt Gaetz is coming for your daughters or something along those lines.
Yeah, like like the jokes are rolling in already. It's so bad.
It's real, and I think number 45 was going to come out for Matt Gaetz's defense, but someone talked him out of it. And I think Matt
toxic.
It's that toxic.
It's that toxic, man.
And I think Matt Gaetz even asked Donald Trump for like a pardon right before he left, but Trump
that's right. He asked for the pre-pardon, which I guess Rudy Giuliani also asked for one, and you're not asking for a pardon unless you got some weird shit going on that you're probably going to go to jail for. So it's not looking good for Matt. Now, I did leave out one thing. I did misspeak when I said that Republicans aren't calling for him to resign. Turns out someone actually did. Adam Kinzinger, who I think was one of the few to actually vote for the election results to stand back in January. He actually came out and said that Gaetz should resign as well. So, but he might be out without a party soon. He might just join the Justin Amish train very quickly. But yeah. One person has come out for Gaetz to resign. Yeah. So I guess I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, usually like those type of Republicans, like they get kicked out the party or primary. Yeah. So
unlike our party, somebody's actually in control.
Look, man, in our party, we'll ask for you to resign. You don't resign, and then you suddenly become more progressive. Mm-hmm. It's happened in Virginia. It's happened in New York.
Shouts to Cuomo.
So
big blood.
All right. So thank you, Marcus. That was really good, man. Thank you for that. So R.I.P. to Representative Elsie Hastings. He was a civil rights lawyer, judge, and a former congressman. So R.I.P. to you, sir. And then here's like one of the big thing here is that there were some big news that came out of Capitol Hill outside of Matt Gaetz. The Senate Parliamentarian. So they're kind of like the referee, if you will, for the Senate. came out and gave the okay to use another reconciliation vote, meaning that we can pass another bill that involves around money and taxes with a party line vote. So 50 votes, essentially, 51 being the vice president. And also this parliamentarian rule that we can go back and use that same rule to amend parts of the previous COVID relief bill that was just passed too on party line votes. So this was actually like a big break for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and
taking a lot of L's.
He's taking a lot of L's, and then Senate Budget Chairman, what's his name again? I'm blanking on his name. The Budget Chairman,
Bernie
Sanders. Thank you. Sheesh. Long.
How do you blank on Bernie?
It's a long day. It's a long day.
Wowzers. Right.
You know, I was talking to Dan about Bernie Sanders like last night, and I'm mad at myself that I blanked on his name. So I blame Dan for me blanking on Bernie Sanders. So yeah, a huge break for Schumer and Bernie Sanders. And plus Biden is looking to push like a big infrastructure bill. We can probably get that pushed through with 51 votes, obviously the VP being the 51st vote. But all this good news came to an end when Senator Joe Manchin out of West Virginia, declared that he won't weaken or water down the filibuster, and that he wants to have Republican input on the new transportation bill that's coming through.
The new infrastructure bill. He's the same guy who said he wanted Republican support on the COVID bill and give them a chance, and no Republican voted for the bill.
Right. So I just want to get everyone's take here, and just be mindful of time. Why do you think Joe Manchin kind of did an about face? Because before this, Joe Manchin was warming up to the idea of at least reforming the filibuster, and maybe if Republicans continue to abuse it, potentially even like voting to get rid of it. He left that door open. He didn't fully shut it, but he was more open to reforming it. Why do you think he kind of did an about face?
I feel like he wants to prove to Chuck Schumer that he's in charge.
That he's the Senate Minority Leader?
Someone called him the Prime Minister of the United States because of
he basically is. Like he basically is. Yeah. He has so much fucking power. It's actually disgusting that one man has so much power and he's not a president.
Yeah.
So me personally, I think that one of the things about the Biden infrastructure bill that hasn't been discussed enough is that it's essentially going to be a corporate tax hike. It's going to raise the taxes on corporations, and it's also going to make an attempt. It's not going to be perfect, but make an attempt to tackle corporations that kind of store their money overseas and pay absolutely zero taxes on it. So it's supposed to create like a global minimum tax rate to try to bring some of that money back into the United States. And then the idea is that was going to pay for the infrastructure bill, but
which it
could, but ideally that's supposed to like right multiple wrongs, So me personally, I've been looking up like who's been sponsoring like Joe Manchin. He has he's a huge following on like Wall Street, outside of natural gas. Like Wall Street has like a big following for Joe Manchin. My theory, and I have no proof, is that one of his lobbyists called him up and is like, "You can't support this bill." And this is Joe Manchin's effort to try to kill this bill, or at least to try to get rid of or reduce the corporate tax hike that's in this bill.
Yeah, he said, didn't he come out and say that he doesn't want the tax rate to go above 28%?
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to reduce the tax rate.
I know it's already Trump already brought it down to what, 25%?
I can't remember. I don't have the notes in front of me, but Trump did like drastically bring down the corporate tax rate, but they weren't paying that anyways to begin with.
No, you're a multinational. There's no need to really worry about that. You're stashing the money overseas until if there's a repatriation holiday or moving it around elsewhere to get the money. But yeah, I mean, I think your theory is a good one, that he has one of his handlers or some lobbyists is just like
putting that big homie call.
Yeah, it's like you're not supporting this, Joe. All right, we're not doing that. I think Wall Street, it makes sense that Wall Street would go behind him or kind of throw their money or their lot behind him, because he's basically going to be the de facto, swing vote on all of these. Same thing for Cinema too, which is probably why he's kind of operating the way that he does, or even Cinema too. They're going to operate the way that they do because they know that they have tremendous power over what happens in this country. So they might okay some things, but like a minimum wage hike, it makes sense that they would stand in the way of that. Corporate tax hike, it makes sense that they would stand in the way of that as well. So Someone
Yes.
just kind of like just giving them, as Ryan said, that
Something
big
gotta
homie
give,
call.
man.
So, all right. So I was talking.
We know
to
what's
Dan
best to give. We just need more. We need more Democratic senators.
We
I
need
don't know
more
where they came
Democratic
from,
senators,
but we need like 2 or 3 more to kind of render those, to make them not as powerful. Basically, if we had like a 53 to 47 advantage or something, we'd be good right now. But we're not.
If we had that, I'm perfectly okay with kicking Manchin out the party.
I'm perfectly
100% okay kicking him out the party.
The dickhead, bro. I'm sorry.
Absolutely,
huge language, bro. Like,
because what's his name? John Tester out in Montana. He's in a very similar situation. He's in a deep red state. Yet you don't hear him complaining whatsoever.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marcus's dog, by the way. Die-hard Republican dog.
Very much so.
His cousin was
doesn't like the
dog.
tax rate.
Right. The dog's like, don't raise my taxes.
Right.
All right, let me ask you guys this. So Joe Manchin's kind of hardline stance on the filibuster. Forget taxes. What is this going to do to like social progress? And what I mean by is that there's 2 main things that's coming out of the House. One is to help improve our voting rights, and the other is a police reform.
Right.
And both of those 2 things are going to impact people that look like us the most.
Yeah.
So what do we think? Do you think that Joe Manchin just kind of gave the de facto veto on those 2 pieces of legislation?
I hope he don't veto any, but I could see him vetoing both, you know. Man, like, to say that a senator has veto power, a single senator has basically a veto power that's kind of more powerful than the president's veto power. It's actually nuts. But that's the case here. Like, he's the end all be all when it comes to policy. Even Kirsten Sinema, whatever they don't agree with is not getting passed.
Kirsten Sinema, I don't understand her stance, because Mark Kelly, we don't hear a single thing about Mark Kelly.
Because Mark Kelly is a man standing on principle.
Yeah.
I don't know what Kirsten Sinema is standing on.
She's just quirky. For more or less. Like, she's just a weird, quirky girl.
I have a wild take about Kirsten Sinema, but I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Well, I mean,
you can't tease us like that, Rye.
This is not oath, but you can't tease us like that.
Like, come on.
Those liberals, man. Like, she's one of those liberals. She reminds me of New York liberals. You see how New York is such a liberal state, right? But like, they're like the last to do everything very liberal, like the last of the liberal states to legalize marijuana, last to do all of that.
Right.
Most of New York are liberals by name. You remember the lady? Those New York is full of the. Kirsten Sinema is one of those liberals where I would have voted for Obama 3 times. She's the liberal in that sense.
I get what you're saying, right? Like, they'll vote for Obama, but then like probably turn around and vote for like a Republican like the next round.
They will go far, but not far. They will go to where it needed to be to show that they are attempting to do something, but they would just stop this close. That's what Kirsten Sinema is.
I feel you. That's a good take. I don't think it was that wild of a take.
Yeah.
To be honest, I actually kind of agree with you. All right, so we're running out of time. I do want to ask a couple of like fun questions. So here's question 1: are the Kardashians becoming too powerful? And get this, Caitlyn Jenner. I don't want to say she's like the father of the whatever, but Caitlyn Jenner.
They still call her. They still. It's okay. They still call her dad, so it's fine. You're not saying anything. They still call her dad, so you're fine.
I don't watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, so I wouldn't know. So I'm just keep it as she's after the matriarch with Kris Jenner.
You know what?
Okay, so Caitlyn Jenner, you may have known her from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. She is looking to
Bruce Jenner,
formerly Bruce Jenner. She's looking to make a run for governor of California if the current governor Gavin Newsom is recalled. How do we feel about that?
Nuts. I'm tired of celebrity running for office, and I'm tired of people actually voting for celebrities, because the job of governance is very fucking hard. and not everybody can just
They
get
don't
up
take
and
it seriously.
and get it. And I really need to realize, I really need to understand. I understand that we live in a democracy, but there has to be some kind of limitation and requirement for people to have the most important jobs in this country.
Yes.
You can't, a random citizen shouldn't be able to get up one day and be like, yo, I'm gonna run for president, I'm gonna run for governor, because that creates so much issues. And we're seeing it with Trump.
It becomes a slippery slope, because it starts with one person who doesn't know what they're doing, and then another person who feels like who feels like, yeah, well, they did it, I could do it. And then before you know it, you're getting to a point where it's like no knowledge of what the fuck is going on, and you have nothing to contribute.
Bro, I want y'all to realize that when they said that when Trump wouldn't read the briefings and when there's important stuff, they put it at the bottom of the stack for him. That's the type of situation that we have when this person this is not a job that you learn on the job kind. This is not a learn on the job kind of thing. This is the first day I'm throwing you into the fire. Like, to be a governor is to be, we have 50 states. To be a governor is basically to be the president of a state. You're basically the president of a dependent country that's dependent on a union. So you can't just be a random celebrity and think it's okay. Like, this is where the line has to be drawn somewhere with this recklessness, you know, because this is just pure recklessness. And like, what the fuck? What does Caitlyn Jenner know about governance?
Nothing, but it's a popularity contest. And that's all she's trying on winning. She's counting on being popular enough, more popular than the other people running, that she can actually take over the seat.
And I actually kind of miss a key thing here is that she's running as a Republican, right?
Which is makes it even more hysterical. You're running for a party that's basically gone out of its way in multiple states to say, "Hey, you guys are to strip you of rights, not recognizing you."
They don't recognize you as a woman. So,
and yet she spoke at the RNC a few years ago, trying to say, like, "Oh, you have an LGBTQ kind of caucus here too." Like, no one's checking.
No, they never were. They never were.
This is not real, man. We got to draw the line somewhere. The line has to be drawn somewhere, like on requirement to run for office. Like, it's getting out of hand. I see that 46% of Americans want to vote for The Rock.
Yeah,
president. This is insane. Now
we have no idea what his political beliefs are. By the way,
he's definitely a centrist. Definitely a centrist. Definitely a pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of politician.
I'm gonna say this. Everybody thinks listen, when Trump ran, everybody's philosophy was maybe we should try a different direction. Like, look what politicians have gotten us. Maybe we should go in a different direction.
Right.
And you see how that turned out. So I'm not saying that like politicians always get it right, because I'll be the first to tell you that they don't. But I do believe that I feel like you have to have some sort of understanding about the job that you're about to get into. Like, it's like you can't just keep applying. Like, it's like I understand we say like, oh yeah, apply for the job even though you know you're not qualified. It's like, no, don't, because
don't
it's like,
do that, bro.
Like, doesn't work for all jobs.
You should. No, you still should. You still should.
Like, listen, I feel like these are jobs that people are taking like a popularity contest. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get into this position, but it's like there, like, so many, like, it's a bigger job. It's not just a role. It's something that you have to, like, you're in charge of people. Like, you're impacting people's lives, and that shouldn't be taken lightly. Like, it shouldn't just be some shit like wake up on a Thursday and be like, you know what, I'm gonna run for Congress. I'm gonna run for Senate. No.
We could then look back on the Trump presidency. They said if they handled the coronavirus better, if there was somebody that sees it, we could have saved like more than 250,000 lives, you know? Yeah, remember the prediction for how much deaths the coronavirus was going to have was like 100,000 by the summer. And
that's nuts. We
are at like we passed 500,000 a long time ago. So we are at 5 times the amount. That we are off track. Like, something got to give. There got to be a line in the sand where people say, yo, this is ludicrous now. but it's okay.
I feel it. So from what I gathered, we are not endorsing Caitlyn Jenner.
Hell no.
All right, fair enough. All right, so that's all I have for the podcast today. All right, so we're back on track. I have no more vacations because finals is coming up, so I'm going to be here.
Ryan don't got to take a final.
We're not going to be. We're not friends, Ryan.
Congrats to you.
I'm jealous,
because
man.
we do.
Yeah, seriously. So that's all we have for you today. If you like what you heard, please share it. Please like and subscribe. Put it on your Twitter account, put it on your Facebook, put it on your social media, help us grow, man. We're trying to grow this thing. Hit us up on our Twitter account. We'll respond back. We love the feedback. That's all I really got for you guys today. And we're out.
Bye, guys.
Later.
Deuces, dog.